the Geek Protagonist, and I'm trying a new format when it comes to reviewing TV shows. So this will be the format going forward. I'd like to hear y'all input to tell me, hey, this is a cool way or not. It's easier because I go through episodes or sections. This is a little different than a movie. So welcome, and here we go. And this is going to be clustered with a couple other videos that might ruffle some feathers, but I tell everyone all the time, it's my opinions. I think they're good. I think they're important. If you don't, you don't. But it's what I say. Just kidding. Not really. So, basically in this review, when I do TV shows, I'm trying to give a synopsis. So I'm not going over detail by detail, just maybe, especially these shorter shows. Hey, here's this episode. Here's what I felt. Here's what I got out of it, kind of situation, right? So, these have some light spoilers. I'm literally just talking about the show as a whole and what I thought of it in the end. So, Falcon and Winter Soldier. And like I said, be careful. This might have some spoilers in it, but I'm literally just talking about the show, what I think, and that's why I will be waiting a little while for these, because they're going to be just more of a talk about as a whole, I guess. I can't think of a better way to explain it. So, we got episode 1, New World Order. It was showing the plight of the world that can and does happen. So, basically, we're still dealing with the aftermath of the blip. I give them mad props that they didn't just let the blip become a 1 or 2 and done. It's something that's ongoing that is going to take the storylines a while to actually reconcile with. And I think that's a really good way to handle that. In this series, they kind of play up a little bit on, race. Some people said it was race baiting. I actually have a lot of issues with people that were complaining about this, because it's like they were trying to deny everything, when I'm like, no, some of this stuff does happen. Like I said, you'll hear about it in other videos, but it was more than that. It was about where the world is and how things are and the dissension of the world. And I thought that was a really good thing. I didn't feel it was race baity. I felt it used the race to kind of relate to the world problem at hand. Like I said, however, these kind of situations can and do happen. But in this particular situation, it was a pile-on of the world and the coloring of the world situation of where they're at, what's happening to people. And it was kind of really setting things up, right? It was showing that the world wasn't just a black and white issue or a skin tone issue, but it was more. It was about hard times all around, and just where it was, and that's where you saw the view of Sam. Now, I thought it was really cool that Buck had that leisure, and the story about what he was doing. He's starting to have memories about being the Winter Soldier. I thought that was really good, and what happened and where his head was at and what's been plaguing him. And the fact that he's had to go to therapy to get that assistance. But after the action sequence, it did kind of slow down to a crawl. And I was like, it wasn't bad. It was just like, I expected a little bit more kick out of this. My other friend felt the same way. My other friends were like, "This fine." So some people thought the whole thing from start to finish was fine. I thought it was good, but they could have kicked it up a notch a little bit more. They could have spread the action out maybe a little bit further, because some of it felt very setup-ish, I guess you could say, which I guess it should be because it's episode 1. Episode 2, the Star-Spangled Man. So now Bucky has to wrestle with this situation on his own, as they told Sam Wilson that he did the right thing and nobody can replace Steve Rogers, that whole thing. And within like a day, like, oh, we got a new Captain America. But I think what they were playing up that was more like, well, we got a Captain America that we can control. Sorry about that. My phone is like going off like crazy. So it was like, we got a Captain America that we can control. And that's what it felt like. So now enter Johnny Walker. Once again, I have those obscure characters that I love, and I love U.S. Agent. Actually, an interesting fact. When I got Captain America toys when I was a kid, now Captain America, this is a arm shield that you used to put the shield. It was like a missile launcher, and you would put it on and shoot it. Well, it was called the Captain, and the first toy I actually got of a Captain America character was actually U.S. Agent Johnny Walker, and then one I had said the Captain, and then it did it. And Captain America literally had the same exact, like it was literally Captain America repainted, but it was U.S. Agent, and that was like my first introduction, and it had a little excerpt on the back of who he was, and then I got a comic book with him, and I like the character of Johnny Walker because he's a flawed, humanized Captain America. And it's funny because throughout this show, people started not liking him immediately, but then there's people who were against a lot of the other stories that thought he was like one of the best arcs. It's very interesting how people viewed this. I love the character Johnny Walker because you can take that character in so many directions. He could be the hero of a group, which he has been, and leader, where he lost his legs for a little while, or he could be like a villain. Like, you can play him. He's a very versatile character. He was also awesome in Force Works. Um, but Bucky was having an issue when Johnny said that thing of Steve was like a brother to me, and he's like, you never even knew him. You weren't even around for this. Bucky did turn this because I think Johnny having a shield, or Bucky, I remember saying like Johnny, or him getting a shield doesn't make him Captain America, and he's right. It's about the character too, and now you're starting to see that thread go through. I like that they also show Bucky throughout this with a more personality, so he was kind of starting to turn back into his old self. Like, I mean, he was still in a darker place, but how he talked and how he did stuff, he was showing him wrestle with his demons, but he actually had more personality as they've gone. He always showed his personality with Steve being like 95 years old, but everybody else, it was like, no. And, but now you're seeing him start to deal with some of this. So as he's getting further into being fixed and moving forward, he's starting to act a little bit more like Bucky used to be, just maybe not as hopeful. And then I also like the fact that he was talking about, well, if Steve or Kat was wrong about you, then maybe he was wrong about me, because this was Bucky relying on the approval of others in order to get what he had. Now, you also have this Isaiah Bradley situation, who, by the way, if you didn't know, is a catalyst to a future character. So, they're not going to say who it is, but he is a catalyst to a future character. If you pay attention and you know comics, you can tell what they're setting up for. Especially because WandaVision had a little bit in it too. But I like the idea of Isaiah Bradley because he's a character representing real history about African Americans. And I did notice as I was watching with the cop situation that happened, I did notice like certain people didn't like his story or were bothered because they were like, why do they have to do this? Oh, why? I'm like, because the character is literally based around that. That's actually the big thing about that character. He brought his boys home and got locked up and went to jail for what he did, doing the right thing. Steve did the exact same thing, got his boys home, and they ignored it and didn't even court martial him or nothing. But Isaiah got the short end of the stick. Now, for the people that are complaining, because I'm sorry, you're complaining about these things, or what's woke, I feel like you're being that extreme that you're always pushing on people. If you don't know what he's basing that story on, when he mentioned the red tails and stuff, look up the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. That's what he's based off of. That's real American history. That's not being woke. That's what America did to black people. Like, people need to accept that there are things that did happen and there are references that are going to be talked about it, and that's real history. And that's what this was representing when Isaiah Bradley's character, he's representing a real moment in history and how black people were looked at versus how Caucasian people were. I'm sorry, you don't have to like it, but you need to accept it. And I thought that was really cool how they did that. And also the fact that he was like, I kicked your butt because he actually had run-ins with Winter Soldier. I thought that was cool. I like to see a cartoon thing of that. um, the cop stopping situation is also a real situation that happened. Like I said, there's a video that I did that I will be releasing if I haven't already. Um, some of you are not going to like what I have to say, but that's my experience. Got to deal with it or don't. Um, and I like the fact that they brought up the shield has a complicated history, as some seem to miss what that means. See, Steve Rogers was a huge idea. He was a special type of guy. He's not a person you run into every day. Yet, Steve Rogers was actually representing what happened during World War II. A lot of people don't realize that. Their propaganda machine worked so well that there were teenagers who did try to and did sneak in to fight war and did break the thing. Steve Rogers actually represents that. When he kept lying and wanting to fight, and he was so sickly and all that stuff. Yeah, he was representing the people who lied about that situation and going in. So a lot of history is actually enveloped in Captain America's story as a whole. But Steve being that huge idea from World War II, if you look at his journey from World War II to Winter Soldier to the Civil War to the aftermath, where Captain America and crew became public enemy. So him with that shield, Captain America actually has been through a lot because he represents so many things to so many different people. And with that shield, some see him with fear. Some saw him with good. But in the end, everyone saw that he was a good person and he sacrificed everything to save the world. But there's still people who've seen it differently. And that was a nice touch. Then you have episode 3 with the Power Broker. So the big Zemo breakout, Zemo, the only other character that actually defeated the Avengers. Zemo, and a lot of people don't realize that. Zemo won. That's why I always laugh when people are like, Zemo sucked. I'm like, no, Zemo, he did something differently. Instead of trying to fight them with brute force, Zemo fought them with the mistrust that was there. He used that mistrust to expound on separating them because he doesn't like super soldiers, super groups, superpowers, gods in the sky kind of thing. Which is a little different from the comics, as he is someone that likes to be part of the Third Reich and Hydra. Not a bad adjustment to his character, because they already have characters that represent that. As a character came up later, which I think they're going to represent that a little high more, which I'll get to that when I get to it. Zemo had more of a, I don't want super powered, like super soldier, super powered stuff like that. Zemo would hate me because I take that super soldier formula in a heartbeat. Give it to me right now. But anyway, but I gotta give it to him that Zemo, even through that, the comics, he's based on hatred, but you can see that because of the things, the way the world has went, he settled for certain stuff. Like he was a little bit calmer than he was. He wasn't as angry as he was before. The dance obsession thing was weird to me. Like people, we have to see him. I demand these dances. So they set up that hour thing, and I'm like, he just kind of pumps because he's really relatable to people. And yeah, it was a funny scene for a moment. Did we really need an hour dance special? I guess I didn't really care, but it seems like everyone, every time they do a show now, they pick something and then demand Marvel to expand on it. So, whatever. Hey, it was trending. It made a trend. That's not a bad thing. Zemo did work very well. I liked his explanation to extremists, and this is why he had issues with the Avengers, because the super soldiers are dangerous. That also kind of compounded to the Flag Smashers, and that these kind of people do and will become fascists when they take that power too far, as he feels they all will. He was a very intriguing character. You got a little bit more history with Bucky as well. The Dora Milaje showed up. That was cool. They wanted Zemo. The whole thing about some of his, how he was deprogrammed. And this created conflict with Bucky. Sharon, I forgot about this. Sharon kind of shows up and shows her hand a little bit during this episode, popping up, doing things, but people already had speculations, but, it wasn't founded yet. Zemo also ended the scientist who figured out how to do the super soldier serum in his way. Looks like it still had some side effects, but not as bad as, Red Skull side effects. And did that for the Flag Smashers. Zemo, as you know, is going to be Zemo. So, he's like, nope, take him out. He has showed, like I said, that he's not as enraged as he once was. But I like the fact that he did the no super soldiers thing. But then Zemo put on his mask, I guess, to represent that he's Zemo. And he started going murder spree, flip back flips, whatever. I know some people are like, good stunt though. But I'm like, it was a smart way to do it. Um, I would like to see Zemo with his mask more often, hopefully later in the future. Also showed what happened in Sokovia by explaining, the events and these events have consequences where now it's just a memorial. And he was like, have you ever went there after the battle? He kind of pulled like a do you even care? Which Sam and Bucky never went to that memorial. But the problem I had with that scene, it wasn't a bad scene. He kind of jumped on them, and it's like they weren't a part of the Avengers at that time. Yeah, they were in the aftermath of the Sokovia Accords and stuff, but they weren't there. That wasn't them. The Ultron situation. So, yeah, I understand if they care about Sokovia, but why would they go out of their way to visit Sokovia? They wouldn't have that kind of connection. So that felt like they were kind of trying to find a reason to make you feel a certain type of way, when in all actuality, he asked the wrong people that. He should have asked one of the original Avengers. Also, it explained how the countries are trying to slowly eat at its borders and kind of basically wipe Sokovia's existence off the map by taking over and expanding their own land and stuff. So it was definitely cool. It's just I felt like it was a little on the nose, trying to get a message out, kind of thing. I think that scene was more of an impact for us, not an impact for them. Episode 4, the whole world is watching. After clashing heads, Falcon and Winter Soldier uh, had issues with the then Captain America. Now, Lamar Hoskins, aka Battlestar, yes, that's a real character. He was Bucky at one time in the comics. There's a big thing with him and Johnny Walker. Different way they handled it in MCU, but he is a real character, and he is black, so it wasn't no race swap there. Basically gets ended, which leads to Captain Walker taken down and brutally murders a surrendering foreign person in public. Now, at first, I questioned this, besides him being because he skipped the due process and he was emotionally distraught and or blatantly not. You shouldn't have ended the guy. That was not the right way for a soldier. Also, he stole the formula. But, however, he was emotionally there, and I was like, next thing you know, they strip him of his rank, the Captain America mantle, and they discharge him. But they didn't dishonorably discharge him. They didn't honorably discharge him. They just discharged him. So he was kind of like, if he went to go do something, it wouldn't read as a dishonorable discharge. It would just read that he left, like he served his term and he left, kind of thing. Um, which at first this whole thing did kind of confuse me, and I seen some other people like they were terrorists, so he should have killed them. And at first I was like, wait, that's a terrorist. I was a part of that group. And so I was watching with 3 other friends, right? And 2 of my friends were like, yeah, but it was caught on tape and sent to the media. And I'm like, yeah, but that's still not a thing. I mean, he has a sidearm. If he was going to take him out, he would take him out. So I took a moment and I started to reflect on it. And then I remembered, wait a minute, this guy murdered this dude. Right. He was giving up. And the way America works, we view it as people, well, we're supposed to review it as people deserve due process and justice, even if they done something horrendous. unless we're in a battle with them and we take them out during a battle. But once we have them and they surrender, we're supposed to arrest them, basically. Now, when I thought about that, I said, yeah, that makes sense why they stripped him. He basically skipped all due process and was like, bad person gets killed. And that's not what he's supposed to be doing. Now, this also stems, I also had thoughts stemming from me trying to figure out the reason for the gender swap of Flag Smasher. I think the gender swap was dumb. But in this, she killed Battlestar. Now, John lost his patience, during this situation where Sam is trying to relate to her. And definitely showing that she has, from how the world and certain things that have happened and what they've lost, that she definitely has PTSD. Um, and they have a lot of help. And the path she's going down, as Sam was trying to explain to her, is not a good path. She's becoming the thing that she hates. By episode 5, Truth, this is the episode of Montage Family and Self-Reflection. You see Bucky has a peaceful sleep for once. Bucky and Sarah flirt, which was great. That had a big buddy cop vibe. Bucky looks at the shield as his only family, but Sam is showing him that there's more with his family. Like, basically, like, hey, man, you're like a part of my family now, too. The boat fixes was hilarious. Just this wholesome, good fun that was kind of a break from everything. And by the way, did you catch the thing where he told the guy to keep his wings? That character in the comics is new Falcon. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So he's probably going to be Falcon in the MCU now. Just saying. And also those wings are leaked to the government, so that'll work since he's a government employee. Now, I felt this episode was quiet before the storm as they had the cool fight and remove the shield off of him. I kind of forgot about to mention that part earlier. They take the shield. They kind of like are basically regrouping, doing everything. Bucky realizes that Sam didn't give the shield back, so Sam has his montage or whatever, showing him training, and I thought it was cool. By episode 6, One World, One People. Now, my friend and I was like, okay, we aren't getting enough action, which that was something I did felt. I did enjoy it so far, but I'm like, look, they got to turn this up. We got to get action on galore because they were treating this like it's an action show. We got the spy stuff in, but come on. And like I said, after that big training montage, which was a missed opportunity for him to stay on your left with his nephews, that would have been great. And we get that the Wakanda suit, which I like that they got to stop relying on Wakanda to do everything. That's starting to kind of become a thing now. It's like, can y'all use this to maybe do this with other characters? But for the Wakanda for this, it worked. I just don't want them to keep pulling on that string. But he has those really cool wings. He has Captain America's shield that was set up, and the whole outfit is super comic accurate. Like, it was so comic accurate, it hurt. I was like, dude, you look like you literally just walked out the comics. So that was crazy. Now you get the big reveal of who the power broker is, and Flag Smasher 1 goes down. Oh, and Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. I know I'm not saying her full name, but I'm saying most of it. She is an important character. I thought it was great casting, and so did my boy who casted her. She's kind of quirky, a little crazy, but she's also a hint that possibly Hydra's back. And I like that Walker gets inspired by his partner's family after he talks to them, makes the steel shield, dealing with the border issue. He's going after Flag Smasher, but he does the right thing, which shows he's still a good person in the end. He saves the senators instead of going out for revenge, showing that Johnny is in the right. He may not be perfect, but he's actually a good person. And I think they played that up in the sense that Captain America was such a good, wholesome person that it was hard for you to look at Johnny, who's more of a normal person, mind you. A good guy, a great hero, but more of a normal kind of guy. It was hard for him to live up to it, and I've seen so many people complain about his character, and I'm like, well, that's probably the point. He's more of a normal guy, and Steve was not a normal guy. That's why Tony was like, I want to punch you in your perfect teeth. Steve was a very special kind of guy. But they had the border issue as the government is not handling it well, And yes, doing what they have been can feel like terror, with the flag smashers. So no more one world. The idea, money, and you do know this. Money is controlling who gets where and what. Sam questions why and how to both sides and how they are both bad. They forced. Now he's explaining because they keep calling them terrorists. And he's like, well, this particular situation, you can't call them terrorists because some people are like, they're terrorists. You're trying to relate to the terrorists. I'm like, no. He's saying you can't call them terrorists because too many people around the world were supporting them. They didn't have a small support system with the flag smashers. They were going in different places of the world and people were supporting them. So to them, they were looking at them like freedom fighters because people were losing their homes. They were losing their places while the other people were coming back. They were losing while giving it to the other people and it wasn't handled right. And because it wasn't handled right, it made these people think they had to fight back. And when you back some people up into a corner, sometimes what happens is they start to become violent, they start to become wicked, they start to do bad acts, and they walk that line, and then sometimes that line leads into terror depending on who they were fighting. So yes, the government is going to be like, well, they're fighting against us, they were hurting senators, they were killing people, they were doing this, that makes them terrorists. But Sam was like, no, you're not understanding. Look at the bigger picture. Why did they have so much help? Why did so many groups of people join them? How come it became so big? Why were they such a big network? Because you're doing something wrong. You're not doing the right stuff. And it was like, and there's people like, no, but they did bad things. Guess what? America does bad things. If you think about it, and this is, I'm not even saying it's bad. Let's say we don't like what a country is doing. So we decide to go and jump into that country's business and go all up in there, load them up, put our own leaders in office and everything. Now, imagine if someone did that to America. Like, imagine Putin did that to America. What would that seem like to you? That's what Sam was trying to explain. He was like, you guys are not doing it right, but you got to work on this so we can't, because this isn't the right way either, what they did, and we don't want a worse version of her. So I liked Sam's speech when he was like, what you're doing isn't fully helping, and these people didn't feel like they had a choice, and don't label them. Take what happened and learn from this mistake and grow. And I like that they did that. Now, I got a few closing thoughts. There was also a Welcome to Madripoor leak that showed stuff dealing with Blade, Mystique, and several X-Men and the villains, and they kind of removed it. I was going to do a video on it, but I don't remember, so I'll just mention it here. Marvel removed it, but they did hint to mutants and Blade, which makes sense because Blade has a lot of things that happens in Madripoor too. They got rid of it, but I don't know, I guess dumbness, the operative word here. But changing the Flag Smasher Carl Morgethathu, might not be saying his name right, of the Ultimatum to Carly Meganthau of the Flag Smashers, it did feel unnecessary. In real life, the actress is a Brit. She's British nationality, Irish and Jamaican descent. And I'm guessing because the way they were doing the Flag Smashers, this is my guess too why. Because I don't understand, so I'm trying to put logic to where maybe I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt where their head was at. She looks very multinational. She looks like she doesn't fit into one box. And that may be the reason. But I will say this. She did do her job. She tried to convey, and she did that. She did have a very similar goal to Flag Smasher's goal, which his goal in the comics is to liberate from the oppression of national rule, which this is similar to national rule and border. So that was on point. And once again, because her name is Erin Kellyman, and FYI, she is a very skilled actress, and I will definitely give her that. I would like to see more of her. I've been seeing more of her. I actually want to. I feel like she has a lot of potential. And she should have been casted as Spinning Top. Yeah, they had a miss right there. She would have been perfect. She has the Irish descent, the red hair. She would have been perfect for Spinning Top and Black Adam. Good job, guys. You failed. You just rather waste swap her to a black chick instead of using someone right there who would fit. And by the way, still would do your checkbox for the black thing because she's half because she's Jamaican, which makes her half black. So you could have gotten your best of both worlds right there. You would have made people like Nerdette's Newsstand happy with this character and that, but nope, you jacked it up because you were too busy trying to be overly woke casting instead of thinking harder casting. But I did like how this series reflected the world. I love that Captain America's Sam's version said, "My favorite line is that the only power I have is the belief that we can do better," or that I like that a lot. That was an awesome speech. Now we have announced Captain America 4 and another season, and this time is going to be called Captain America and Winter Soldier. So I was struggling with the rating because I was floating between good time and a should buy, but that last episode really brought me in. So I'm going to say it's a should buy because I think it was a really strong closeout to a already pretty decent and pretty good show all the way through. So I would like to hear what you guys have to say. Tell me any ideas or anything in the comments. This is the Geek Protagonist. You stay safe, you stay healthy, you stay real, and I'll see you.